Here's some botched up extra bits. Fries on the side.
What's up? This is the Botched Up Podcast, the Chit Chat Show, the pre-show, if you like, to our main pod. As always, you're with me, Benito, and my good friend Basil.
Good shit, pal.
And today we're just doing, as you just called it, a state of address with WWE. You're going to let me know everything that's going on the road to WrestleMania.
Right, so just to confirm, the last show that you saw, I think, was Elimination Chamber 2021.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yep. And you are not a regular WWE viewer.
I think I watched one random Raw after Elimination Chamber.
So
Maybe.
I have spent most of this weekend half asleep watching utter trash to get us up to speed so that we know what is going on the road to WrestleMania right now. Okay, so I think the way that we should do this is you throw me names and I'll tell you how they're doing.
Okay, well, the one I'm most interested in, because I've seen reports that she's not going to be at WrestleMania, is Asuka.
Asuka, I haven't seen on TV for a couple of weeks, and if she has been on TV, she's been on such forgettable tag team matches that I can't actually remember what she's been doing. What I can tell you is that, as usual, she is still taking losses. I don't know why. Nia Jax has beat her clean a couple of times. Charlotte says that she wants to face Asuka at WrestleMania. Nobody knows why, because Asuka hasn't done anything of note for months. She's become a caretaker champion. It seems like they've kind of forgotten about the fact that a Raw Women's Championship exists.
I guess Charlotte thinks it's an easy championship win.
As we are, we've got just less than 30 days left to WrestleMania, and absolutely no plans, apart from a half-hearted promo, have been made for a Raw Championship match. And I don't think anybody would be into Charlotte versus Asuka with build. There is no build at all. They're still teaming.
Oh, okay. That doesn't make any sense.
This is a recurring issue because every single tag team or sets of champions currently have issues. You had a look at the Fastlane match card and they've put on Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks going for the tag team belts again, which I don't understand at all because...
But aren't they meant to be feuding going into their Mania match?
Right,
or are
so
they best
again,
friends?
be a month left, and Sasha is still a face, Bianca is still a face, nothing's really going on. Bianca Belair's taken 2 losses in the last couple of weeks in tag matches. Sasha Banks is flirting with Reginald. Another damp squib.
So is Carmella involved in this story then?
Carmella fired Reginald.
Oh, right, okay. So he's just out there, loosey-goosey.
Well, he's kind of the focal part of the SmackDown women's roster at the moment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Who else do you want to talk about?
So is Bayley not being inserted into their story? Isn't it going to become a triple threat?
I've seen Bayley once in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
she was the biggest thing of last year.
She's doing her Ding Dong Hello segments. Where she's got her little door and her big glasses and she sits on a sofa and just cuts a heel promo. I mean, Bayley makes it work, but Bayley has fallen off the radar just like Asuka. They're both swimming in shallow water, doing nothing.
Great. Well, I'm really excited for this Big E Apollo Crews match that's going to happen at Fastlane. That's 2 of my boys. But
I was hoping that you were going to mention Apollo Crews.
Yeah, Apollo Crews is now Nigerian.
Yes, so he came out about 2 weeks ago and said, I'm going to start... He went on this impassioned promo about how his ancestors had slept with 5 of his wives and was a warrior and cut people's heads off in Nigeria, and how he was going to become like his ancestors. And last week's SmackDown, he turned up with a terrible, terrible Nigerian accent. But not only that, he also turned up with every stereotype of African culture you can think. So he's got the big green and white scarf. He's got a spear. He's carrying a spear to the ring at the moment. And he's got 2 paramilitary, I presume, security guards behind him. I don't know. Africa's really militarized, I guess.
Nigeria went for a civil war like 60 years ago.
But why are we Do we have to play into that?
Isn't Nigeria like one of the biggest booming countries in Africa right
Yes, I'm sure
now? After
that
like Ghana and Ethiopia.
I'm sure that most Nigerians resent the fact that Apollo Crews, who was born in America, is putting on a bad Nigerian accent and carrying a spear.
Yeah.
Is this still the stereotype of the African warlord? You know?
So he's turned heel, yeah?
He's turned heel. He's doing his best.
Is he good
the
at
accent?
it, though?
He's trying.
Other than the accent?
He's trying.
Okay.
He's more interesting than he has been in a long time, just because he has something to do. But that accent, the spear, the troops behind him is just overkill. It's embarrassing. Big E, on the
So what's
other
the
hand,
angle? Is Big E like pissed off that he's being fake, or...?
So Big E has been one of the highlights of the last month because he's actually practicing logical wrestling booking. Apollo Crews had a match with Big E like a month or two ago. Big E beat him. They had a rematch. Big E beat him. Then Big E was sitting on commentary watching the Apollo Crews match, and Michael Cole keeps saying, "So when are you going to face Apollo Crews again?" And Big E was like, "I've already beat him. Why would I face him again?" And Michael Cole for the next 10 minutes was just like, "So you don't want to face Apollo Crews?" And Big E's like, "I beat him twice." And Michael Cole's like, "Oh, so I'm just guessing that you don't really want to get in the ring with Apollo Crews then." And Big E's like, "Dude, I beat him and beat him. He needs to go to the back of the line." And then Corey Graves is like, "Well, does he? You know, he's showing some fire." And Big E's just like, basically putting his hands in his face. And then Apollo like attacks Big E after a match and puts him on a stretcher. They do a whole stretcher job. Big E came back this SmackDown this Friday and said, "I'm gonna have to go Old Testament on your ass. And if you're coming onto my lawn, I'm gonna bulldoze your house." And he had a really fiery promo. To the credit of Big E and Apollo Crews, they're trying their best with the material they're given. You need to hear Apollo Crews' Nigerian accent to truly believe it.
So Apollo Crews is gonna win at Fastlane?
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
Just the way they book their champions.
Basically,
I could see it.
I think Big E beat Apollo Crews on TV twice just to give Big E a mini feud. Then they looked around and realised that they haven't built anybody up in the mid-card to face against Big E. So they're like, "Oh, okay, so let's just go back to Apollo Crews and have him injure Big E so that Big E has a pay-per-view match at Fastlane."
And there's no one else on SmackDown that could go against Big E?
Big E's already beaten Sami Zayn for the title to begin with. Baron Corbin is not doing a hell of a lot.
Matt Riddle?
Matt Riddle's on Raw.
Oh.
And that's how much you're into the product, bro.
I thought he was on SmackDown. He was on SmackDown a while back.
He's the current US champion on Raw.
Oh.
Losing matches to Ali right now. Non-title matches. To
has Ali given up on Xavier Woods and Kofi?
Yes, there seem to be Kofi and Xavier seem to be transitioning into a really boring feud with the Hurt Business.
For the belts?
They haven't gotten that far yet. Ali is still shouting at his members of Retribution saying, "Why are you failing me? You're not good enough for this fantastic group." Nothing has changed for 5 or 6 months. You have Matt Riddle win the championship at Elimination Chamber, and then the next week on Raw, you have him lose clean to Ali, who has lost to everyone.
So, okay. Well, what I wanted to talk to you about the overall situation that's going on here is that WWE have thrown their whole plan out of the window and apparently are rebooking everything for Mania, and that all of the guys and girls in the company have no idea what their matches are going to be, and usually in Mania's gone past, Vince has a plan by December and everyone knows their matches at least by the week after the Rumble, but nobody knows what's going on right now. Does that translate to TV? Because it sounds like it's a bit of a mess.
I believe that to an extent, but I've also read that report, and I can't help but feel like that's WWE protecting their card more than anything, because Meltzer, if he has the ability to, will try and report the WrestleMania card in like early January. So I do believe that there's a little bit of... Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Vince truly is just mad at this point and currently constantly changes everything all the time. But I do think that the WrestleMania card a little bit apparently is up in the air because they're trying to save some sort of interest. You've got some clear You've got Drew currently in a very hard-hitting series of matches with Sheamus. It's assumed that Drew will be going against Bobby Lashley. They haven't really hinted at that too much yet, but that's pretty set in stone, I would say.
At Mania?
Bianca Belair and Sasha, yeah.
Okay. But do you find that interesting at all?
I think it's the best you can do with the situation that you have that you created yourself. Just like every single time we talk about WWE. Bobby Lashley's a viable champion. I think Bobby Lashley has actually been one of the highlights for me of the past couple of weeks.
I've liked Bobby Lashley for years, but I've never considered him the top guy. I don't know.
I've got to admit that McIntyre and Bobby are... I think Bobby makes a credible champion, by the way. I disagree with you there. I think he does look main event status. Bobby and Drew as a marquee match, when we've already seen it on pay-per-view, we've already seen it on Impact Wrestling 5 years ago, and we've surely seen it a couple of times on Raw. It's not a big match, and it definitely won't be main eventing either night of WrestleMania as far as I'm concerned.
Is Brock out of contract?
Yes, Brock is a free agent right now.
Because Brock coming back to face Drew McIntyre as champion would have been far more interesting.
So again, that muddies the waters. You either have McIntyre versus Lesnar rematch, so you've completely just thrown Bobby Lashley away after building him up for months.
No, I'm talking like before even Lashley came into the picture, to have that as the plan.
Yeah, but it is plausible that Lesnar will still turn up, but then what do you do with him? Because if you're having... People are calling Lashley Lesnar a dream match. I don't really see it as that, but if you are having that and you think that's going to sell the most tickets, well, you've just completely destroyed all of the momentum that the champion that's carried you through the pandemic has built up in Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Like, what is he supposed to do?
You know what?
So
you know what would be fun is Keith Lee versus Brock, which they teased at Royal Rumble a couple years back.
I have no idea what Keith Lee is doing or where he is. I know that...
Didn't he go back down to NXT?
No.
Oh.
No. So I know that Reckoning, Maya Yim, she had coronavirus, so Keith Lee had to stay at home for a little while. Then he was pulled from the Elimination Chamber card. Yeah. But now Maya Yim is back, but Keith Lee is nowhere to be found.
Okay.
So Keith Lee's just gone. I can't even see him getting a WrestleMania paycheck. He's just been forgotten about.
He'll be in the Battle Royale, probably.
To go back to your question about All Up in the Air, you've definitely got Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
Although that's a damp squib as well. They need to turn Sasha heel immediately. And then I think maybe the funniest the funniest thing that has happened in WWE is the Daniel Bryan situation. And I just want to talk this through with you for a second. Do you remember WrestleMania 30 when they made it quite clear that they wanted Batista and Randy Orton in the main event of WrestleMania 30, and they didn't want Daniel Bryan anywhere near the main event?
Batista.
Yeah. And then they could not get rid of WWE fans chanting Daniel Bryan's name until they begrudgingly put him in the main event and let him win the whole thing.
Yeah, because he beat Triple H on the same night, right? And then he was in the triple threat. Yeah.
I don't even understand this level of stupidity. But just imagine that you have the freedom to book whatever WrestleMania main event you want. You have so much ultimate freedom that you don't even have crowds shitting on anything you're doing.
Yep. You can control what the crowds are saying.
You pipe in your own crowd noise.
Yep.
So everything should go as exactly as the way you want it planned.
Yep.
Somehow, I don't know how, they've recreated the Daniel Bryan situation of WrestleMania 30 without a crowd to shit on the legend going into the main event. And Daniel Bryan has become such a focal point of Roman Reigns' feud that Edge is not currently on TV. And when Edge is on TV, he comes across as a whingy dickhead. Because Edge keeps saying on commentary, despite being a face, this isn't a heel tease, Edge is supposed to come across as a face. He is upset that Daniel Bryan is getting a championship match at Fastlane when apparently storyline-wise, it was supposed to be a tag match of Bryan and Edge versus Roman and Jey Uso. And Edge is coming across as not only largely dislikable, but forgettable. And they are building the idea of us really wanting to watch Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan, even though they don't want to, because they want the marquee match to be Edge versus Roman.
So do you reckon it'll be a triple threat at Mania, or that they're just fucking up?
I mean, they might have to make it a triple threat because people are starting to latch on to the idea of Daniel Bryan again. And how you created this, if your chosen guy was Edge and you wanted Edge versus Roman in the main event, how you've created this by accident, repeating what you did 7 years ago without a crowd, I have no idea.
They must be doing it on purpose.
Well, I think to an extent they've realised that Edge is not the guy that they want.
Because Daniel Bryan won the Elimination Chamber, and they did that whole thing where Roman comes out immediately after and Daniel Bryan got squashed, even though he looked pretty good. Because he gets quite a lot of offense in after having like a 40-minute match in the Chamber. So they must have had a plan in place to have Daniel Bryan be somewhat of a focus.
But Edge is coming across as a guy that nobody wants involved in the main event anymore, which is ridiculous. Because, I mean, if you just think about it, you've got Roman versus Daniel Bryan at Fastlane. That can easily end. It's such simple storytelling. Jimmy Uso make his return with Jey Uso to get Daniel Bryan to lose at Fastlane to save Roman. Then Daniel Bryan somehow gets his vengeance, and then has his Mania match with Roman. They've booked themselves into a position now where they don't know what to do with Edge, which is hilarious.
Right.
I
mean, the official card is still saying Mania will be Roman versus Edge. Of course, that could change.
But Edge is pushing Daniel Bryan around because Daniel Bryan is a likable babyface right now on television.
So Edge might heel turn.
But how can you heel turn Edge if you've got Roman? You don't need another heel.
Yeah. Unless Daniel Bryan wins at Fastlane.
Well, then what? I mean, what have you done with Roman then? Like, this is what I'm saying.
Okay, what if? Because Jey Uso's gonna be a special guest enforcer, right?
Yeah.
I don't know this. I'm just reading this off what I've got here. So what if he accidentally fucks up the match for Roman? Daniel Bryan wins, and then WrestleMania becomes a 4-way. Of Uso, Bryan, Roman, and Edge.
I mean, does anybody want Jey Uso in that? Really? He's a great worker, but I don't want to see him in the championship match. But you're missing the point here, Ben. Like, the point is really simple. They had complete control over their own narrative, and they've convoluted it and muddied it so much that any way that they go now is going to be disappointing. If they just carry on with Roman and Edge at WrestleMania, well, they've disappointed everybody because they've now built up Daniel Bryan.
They've dropped the ball on Edge completely.
If they have Daniel Bryan win at Fastlane and then face Edge, they've fucked over Roman Reigns. If they have Daniel Bryan get involved in the main event with Edge as a triple threat, then Edge has just been thrown away.
Yeah.
Any which way they go now is not going to work.
Daniel Bryan's likely to retire once his contract's up. So do you reckon they're just giving him a last hurrah? Either this Fastlane match, or maybe even if it is a triple threat at Mania, he's just getting his last main events in before he leaves.
I mean, I've heard that he's trying out as a SmackDown writer at the moment.
Yeah.
So I assume he will be going backstage soon. But if that's the case, don't give him a last hurrah right now. You've literally spent 3 months building up Edge versus Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. If you give Edge versus Roman Reigns, people are going to be upset because you've made the Daniel Bryan fire kick alive again without any crowd chanting for him. And I tell you what, right now, if you had a crowd, everybody would be booing Edge.
Yeah, everyone would be going crazy for Daniel Bryan.
How did they get themselves into this position?
That's a crazy shame because Roman has been the best thing that's been going on WWE TV for years, this year and last year.
Oh, Roman's still great, man. Roman's great whether he faces Bryan or Edge.
No, I know, but like convoluting the whole story with those two is putting a damper on.
It makes no sense. It really doesn't.
So what do you think is going to be the main event of WrestleMania? Do you reckon it'll be the Roman match?
So they've said that one of the nights, presumably night one, is going to be headlined by Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair.
Okay.
They're treating that as a big deal. It's the first time, I think, that two African-American women have
main
evented. So they want they want to say that basically.
Okay.
So that's what, despite the fact that the actual feud is not really going anywhere right now.
Yeah.
Which is just dude, like another shame. Like you pick your Royal Rumble winners and then you give them the worst feuds.
And they've had like 3 months.
They've had such a long time to sort this out. I can only imagine that the other main event must be Roman and Edge.
So WrestleMania this year is going to be across 2 nights again, and there's only 2 matches currently announced. Do you think that's pretty crazy that we're going to get we must get a lot of filler matches, or they're going to be incredibly short shows compared to previous WrestleManias?
I mean, from what I can... But that's the thing. I've never watched WWE programming in March where everything is so clueless.
Yeah.
We say this every year, but usually at this point, you have points of feuds. Like, even filler feuds. You had last year Baron Corbin starting to have issues with Elias, for example.
Yep.
There's nothing. On SmackDown, the one I can think of at the moment is Otis and Chad Gable versus the Mysterios.
Okay.
That's your level right now. Oh, you do have one good match that's going to be coming up. They've planted the seeds for that. Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. I'm pretty sure will be happening at Mania.
Okay, well that sounds alright.
That should be decent.
Are we getting Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton?
We definitely are.
You say that with like some excitement in your tone.
I mean, I don't know whether you've seen some of the stuff that they've been doing, but Randy Orton's been vomiting black liquid for the past couple of weeks. But the best part for me, I just couldn't take it. I just started laughing out loud. Was Randy Orton watching a video of himself being demonic?
Okay.
He's literally standing at a television screen at that awkward angle that all wrestlers seem to.
Yep.
And Randy Orton comes up on the screen, and Randy Orton is shocked at seeing his evil twin using like really low-voiced demon type accents,
being possessed by Bray. Okay.
But I mean, it's quite clear that Randy Orton filmed that earlier and finds it a bit fucking funny, doesn't he? You know. I've got a theory about this. I think we will be seeing The Fiend within the next 2 weeks, probably at Fastlane. I don't think they're going to have a traditional match.
Is it going to be another Firefly Funhouse match?
Yep, they're going to do the same thing where Bray Wyatt goes into Randy's head and looks back on his career.
I heard about this. Some people were talking about it, and they were saying a fun image would be that in the middle of that, you just see a jail cell with John Cena in it, and then Randy Orton goes in there too.
That's nice.
And
that's nice.
Bray Wyatt is just like collecting souls.
That would be a great cameo.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the last time these two had a match at Mania was awful, so maybe this would be better.
You've also got most likely Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon.
Oh yes, this was main talking point actually. The promo where Shane McMahon looks like a blithering idiot.
Right, so the only thing that I can presume from this is that Vince McMahon decided it was a good idea to make Shane McMahon as irritating as possible, but not vocally.
Well, Meltzer said it was done on purpose. They purposely made him annoying.
But the key point here, I think, is it wasn't just his promo that made him irritating. Somehow, for some reason, decided to try and give him go away heat. His mic stopped working, which I assume was all part of the plan. He went and got another mic and just kept patting it with his hand over and over again for more than a minute. He didn't really speak much, but for the next 2 minutes, he was breathing incredibly heavily to the point where it was quite clear that he had been instructed to breathe heavily into the microphone. So instead of just like trying to create a heel, you're actually genuinely trying to piss people off at home by having irritating sounds that people don't want to hear emanating from their television screen. You see Shane getting in a car and Braun Strowman running towards the car, and then Shane pops around the corner again and says Braun's really stupid. Well, first of all, I don't know how you did that either, Shane McMahon. I saw you get in the car and then you came back round the corner seconds later. So I don't think Braun is stupid there. You're just a magician. Second
Yeah.
of all, Braun Strowman looks like both of them. Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon both look like absolute idiots.
What have they done with Braun, man? I miss the days in, like, whenever it was, 16, 17, when he was a bad guy, but he was just doing these superhero stunts, pushing over ambulances and pulling the whole staging down. You remember that?
Yeah.
All that crazy stuff. And then their spear,
I
through
remember
the
he had a
stage
great
and all the
thing
fireworks went off.
Yeah, he had a great thing with Bobby Lashley, didn't he?
Yeah, Bobby Lashley. I think Roman was in the ambulance. He flew over. Then Cena was in one of the stunts. Like, it was fantastic stuff. And now he's been looking like a moron for years. Well, I'm sure Shane will get some kind of cool stunt, and then Braun.
But that's supposed to be Kevin Owens' gimmick, right? He wants to jump off the ship.
That is Kevin Owens' job nowadays. Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin Owens has gone missing from TV.
I
think he had a Kevin Owens show with Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. He hasn't been doing anything since Royal Rumble.
It's crazy, man. There's nothing of interest at all, by the sounds of it, other than Bobby Lashley.
I've watched 3 SmackDowns. I think 3 SmackDowns over the past weekend. And apart from Roman and Bryan, the only feud I can remember right now is the Mysterios and Alpha Academy. And not for a good reason, really. And the fact that Sami Zayn is not getting along with Baron Corbin as a makeshift tag team.
Well, there's a surprise. Why would you put those two together anyway?
The SmackDown Tag Team Champions haven't been seen for nearly a month.
It's because it's Bobby Roode. They don't want to put Bobby Roode on TV for whatever reason.
So why give him the championship?
Well, yeah, I know.
And the people getting the TV time are Otis and Chad Gable.
Chad Gable is going to quit, man. Have you heard this?
I saw a tweet from, I think, Dax Harwood to Chad saying you can't talk to me openly for another couple of months. Yeah,
and it sounds like Chad Gable is already out the door, and he's going to make that jump.
Andrade has also asked for his release, and it was declined.
Yeah, which means he's probably got quite a while left on his contract if he's asking for a release.
This is where AEW is going wrong as far as I'm concerned. They shouldn't be picking up Christian and Matt Hardy and Big Show. They should be picking up these guys.
Oh,
the guys
okay.
that...
I thought you were about to say picking up these guys would be a mistake.
No. They should be picking up people like Andrade and Chad Gable and like youthful talent.
Yeah, I agree.
In other WWE news, Brian Gerwitz came out, a former scriptwriter, and said that he thinks Vince McMahon is still a mad genius. When he was asked why, he cited the example of Vince coming up completely with the idea of Nexus.
Okay, that was ages ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 2011, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So if that's the last good idea he's had...
yeah, right.
It's been a minute.
And they've also, interestingly, just a tiny little story that I found quite funny. WWE are attempting to trademark subculture.
What, the
They're
word?
attempting to yes, subculture.
But that's just a word everyone uses.
And in other trademark news, WWE attempted to continue their trademark of Dean Ambrose.
I heard this, yeah.
But it turns out that Jon Moxley has to actually sign the papers for them to keep the name.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
There's a few other people in WWE who they can't get the trademark of because the trademark is the people's real names.
I think this is one of the main reasons that both Keith Lee and Mia Yim have not been treated well since going up to the main roster. Both of those two refused to sign over their licenses and trademarks.
Well, let's be honest. If you've broken your back on the indies to build a name for yourself, and then WWE continue to use that name, which seems like a great idea for you because you're continuing the work you've already built on, but then they try and take it for themselves, you're not going to want to do that, are you?
Yeah.
All of this kind of leans into something I listened to recently on the Observer podcast radio. Lance Storm was recently talking about whether stars get a buy rate anymore, or whether it's just gimmicks,
the franchise
concepts, or shows. Yeah. Get people involved, and so I'm just wondering if WWE creative think like that nowadays, that they think people are going to watch Mania because it's Mania, even if all the stories are weak source and they've got nothing scheduled a month ahead.
Completely. You've seen the difference. I think it's even less than because I think Lance was talking about how that's just how the world has changed in general. Like, movies are sold by franchises rather than stars.
Yeah.
He made an example of it on Twitter by being He said an Arnie film or a Stallone film in the 80s would have been marquee events because people wanted to see those guys. Now they sell it on the Avengers or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
He said the same thing has happened to wrestling, but I think it's a little bit worse than that. I think Vince has been burnt too many times. I think he used to market around people. He used to have The Rock. He used to have Steve Austin, John Cena, Batista. And one by one, he's watched them all leave for bigger and better things.
Yep.
So I think it's less to do with focusing it on WWE purely and more because Vince has had too many broken hearts. And he no longer wants to put somebody in that position where he can base his entire business around the person and then they leave.
No one's bigger than the brand, I think is the mentality.
Yeah.
But that makes the brand boring.
I've said this for many years in a row, but I've never felt it more than I've felt it now. I'm less excited for WrestleMania than ever before, despite the fact that they might actually have a crowd on both nights.
Yeah.
The card is looking weak.
Well, the card is currently 2 matches.
I mean, the card is looking weak based upon proposed matches.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon, about probably Miz and Morrison versus Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
You know,
well, there's already one. There's always one celebrity match, so you can forgive that.
It's going to be a drag. I think it's going to be a drag this year.
I was trying to get to it earlier, but I didn't quite say it. That it's 2 nights, and you feel that that's completely pointless this year. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah,
They've already booked the stadium, so I mean it has to happen at this point. I imagine they can't cancel it.
I really don't understand why they would do 2 nights this year, apart from to get people a paycheck.
You know what I think it is? Because they did it the year after New Japan did it, and I feel Vince probably doesn't even know who New Japan is, but I feel a lot.
Triple H does.
Yeah, a lot of people in the company are feeling the heat that AEW exists now. New Japan has been evading the US for quite a few years now and is doing it very well. I mean, Vince knows that they did the Madison Square Garden show. He even tried to get that show cancelled, and Madison Square Garden refused to cancel the event. I'm wondering if things like that are making them make poor business decisions. Although they're making tons of money, then their business is not doing bad, but stuff like this is turning viewers off.
As we're seeing this card is not strong enough for a B show. Everything is flopping. I would actually be quite upset if they do a Firefly Funhouse match, because it's been so long. One of the few things that they've done well is keep Bray Wyatt off TV. So I think Bray Wyatt would get a gigantic pop if he came back at a WrestleMania, for example.
Oh, in front of the live crowd.
Yeah. But
well, to be honest, I think after everything we've just bitched about, it's clear why I'm an AEW fan and I've given up on WWE this year.
AEW just shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, like Cody coming out and saying, "Oh, we thrashed NXT, and we've heard that WWE are going to try and create another Wednesday show to compete with us." Don't go too far, bro. I'm sure that WWE are not really aware too much of trying to create a new show to go against Dynamite, you know? But yes, overall, I'm not going to say that I watch this shit so you don't have to, because it's like comfort eating ice cream. One thing I have noticed is that you can chain watch WWE programming way easier than AEW programming, but that's because it is literally like watching the equivalent of the Jeremy Kyle show. It's just brain dead television. But, you don't have to pay attention to anything. But
for me, that's the other way around. Like I tend to not put wrestling on in the background. When I put wrestling on, I just watch it. So AEW is a far more exciting, engaging show for me to just sit down and watch. Sometimes I do put WWE on, and it is in the background when I'm working. But
I watch AEW. I used to think we had an argument about this like a month ago. I told you that SmackDown was the best show on TV right now.
Yeah.
I tune in these days specifically for the opening segment and the closing segment, and the rest of it has just fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
There is no mid-card feuds going on. There's nothing of any interest going on. So the entirety of WWE Raw for me is now background viewing. I'm watching it while at work. I'm watching it while I'm doing the washing up.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember the last time I sat and watched a non-pay-per-view from beginning to end without doing something else.
Yeah, sure. Whereas the last episode of Dynamite, the show after Revolution, was maybe my favorite wrestling show of the year so far. Like, it was so fast paced, so much happening.
I've heard great things, especially about the MJF stuff.
I mean, I know I'm biased, but I'm genuinely more excited for Double or Nothing than I am for WrestleMania.
I think everybody is. And I think that's...
And I'm not saying that as a biased AEW fan, because it's quite sad to say that. I'm excited as much as anyone to watch WrestleMania, but
It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a real shame. A couple of months ago, SmackDown had a lot of things going for it. You've also got guys on Raw like Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, who are doing their damned hardest to put on an entertaining television show. And unfortunately, it's just all of the rest of it that is ruining it. There's no plans. There's nothing to look forward to. There's no real drive for most of the feuds. Like, long gone are the fucking days where they would put a placebo soundtrack behind Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker staring each other down for like 3 months.
yeah.
There's nothing built up like that anymore.
Yeah.
They don't even know what to do with the program that is the easiest to sell. The Roman program.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they need to get a guy that was around in the Ruthless Aggression era to be booking these shows. You know, not like either head of creative or just script writing. I don't know. I said to you last week,
reshuffle.
I would love to see a Lance Storm booked show, because it sounds like he would deliver something fun.
Hopefully.
I don't know. Maybe they should give the book to Cena or Orton, or I don't know, just someone.
They need to hire all of the. They need to fire all of the Yes Men.
Yeah, but that ain't gonna happen because he's just gonna rehire Yes Men.
Yeah, well, he has this week.
Yeah, true. John Laurinaitis. Well, it's going to be a different day when Triple H gets the book. Then we'll see.
Well, Triple H created AEW before AEW existed, pretty much, didn't he?
Yeah.
Within his own company.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be valid competition.
So if you want to listen to another hour of us talking, the podcast this week is all going to be about explosion, barbed wire death matches. We did a little thing looking into the history of all the death matches in Japan leading up to AEW's Revolution, but we messed up the scheduling, so it's coming out after Revolution, but it was still a fun discussion.
Probably more interesting than Apollo Crews and his new accent.
For sure, because there's explosions. Anyway, until then, keep it botched up.
Brother!
Like, share, and subscribe to keep it botched up, brother.